Welcome to Faith, Fiction, and Folklore, or as we like to call it, the Tri-F Podcast, where we try not to F the podcast up. And today, we are going to start off with Nosferatu. I just watched it Sunday, and it was getting a lot of hype, but I was kind of disappointed in it. But before we get to that, Trevor, how are you this evening?
I am well. How are you?
I am fantastic. Cody?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good, man. You're starting out with a lot of tests, but we're pushing through. We're gonna crush this year.
I hope so, because 2024 stank, and I'm glad it's over. So, Trevor, how was your 2024? You got any thoughts on the new year before we begin?
You do not want to know how my 2024 went.
I got you. Mine was hard, but productive, I guess. Cody?
I had a great time last year, man. I got fired from my job and started my own business. It was great.
Hey, well, that's a positive spin on it right there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's kind of just now starting to kick its feet, but I'm 2 weeks booked, so
That's awesome. That's great.
Heck yeah.
That's great, man.
pretty happy with it.
Yeah. All right. So Nosferatu. So I was personally excited about this movie because I was under the impression that this was going to be the movie that brought the Gothic novel back. Like those old school Victorian, novels with the good guys and the bad guys, and no more of this nihilistic, oh, there are no villains, everybody's just misunderstood. That kind of thing. Like, there's actually going to be malignant forces of evil versus, people that actually mean well. And so I was really hopeful because my novels, the stuff I'm writing, hoping to release this year, actually, I consider them modern Gothic. So I was really hoping this movie would do well because if the Gothic genre came back, well, that would be good for me. But
Wait, I have a quick question.
yes.
Is it what kind of vampires? Are they vampires like Twilight vampires, or are they more like the scary
Scary Ugu, like boo vampires, like Dracula, I want to suck your blood, blah. Like old school vampires, which I was excited to see again because I'm sick of sparkly vampires.
Yeah.
So I wanted to, see how it went. And it was good in a couple ways, but it was helplessly modern, you know what I mean? Like, they couldn't let go of all the modern tropes. So, for example, I guess I need to, before I do that, I guess I need to really start off and basically say what the movie's about as quickly as I can. So it's basically, Nosferatu is a German knockoff of the book Dracula. So it doesn't follow Dracula very closely, and it has a lot of, more stuff that'd be relevant to Germany. So it's, similar, but it's got some differences. And so you've got a list of characters. I'm going to pull up the cast, actually, because I'm blanking out on the cast, which is embarrassing. So
It happens to me all the time.
yeah, it's...
I've been trying to think of a movie the whole time you've been talking, and I can't not remember the name of it or any of the actors who play in it.
Yeah, so let me actually pull up the screen here and just show you the cast list. That'd be better than me.
We're going casting.
We're going casting. All right, so you've got Lily Rose Depp, so Johnny Depp's daughter. She's the lead. Ellen Hutter, and then Nicholas Hoult, and then Bill Skarsgård, Aaron Taylor Thomas, and then William Dafoe. That's kind of your main cast. And Ellen Hutter is the Mina Harker of the movie, of the story, and she's basically, and this was something I kind of liked because it was reminiscent of demonology. I felt like the modern movie didn't explain it very well, and Nosferatu just went more of like the creepy standard stalker next door. Like the vampire moves next door and gets obsessed over the girl. So Nosferatu is pretty straightforward. This remake did something different. It starts out with the girl basically like calling out to somebody to like be her friend, because she's lonely or something like that. And then she hears Nosferatu in her head, and then there's like this weird like erotic dream sequence thing after that. So it's like it was going off the succubus theme, so it's like she's basically invited a demon into her home and then it attacked her. And so the connection, it at least attempted to do something a little different with how the vampire got interested, more directly tied to the succubus thing as opposed to the Beauty and the Beast thing. So I don't know if I liked it necessarily, but I appreciated what they were doing. So she basically invites this demonic succubus figure into her life, and they carry on for a number of years. Well, then she gets married. Well, Succubus Vampire does not like that, she got married. So he sets it up with the boss of this guy's company. Now, this would be Thomas Hutter's boss. And basically, Thomas Hutter's boss sends Thomas to Transylvania to meet the Succubus Vampire, who is named Nosferatu. And this scene was actually very good. Like, the way that they did it, the Bill Skarsgård does like the Mongolian throat chant whenever he talks, basically. Like they really, the beginning scenes are really amazing with the vampire. Like I really liked those a lot. The trouble is the second you actually see the vampire, then it's just a CGI fest. And it just stays a CGI fest the rest of the time, and it's pretty lame. But those beginning scenes where you can't quite see the vampire, like they did the really old school classical gothic stuff. Yeah. So
is it like I want to suck your blood, blah blah?
No, they actually made him look more like a Russian czar or like a Cossack, I think. And so it was very, very reminiscent of Russia, like Russian culture. So
I got you.
It was interesting.
I like the stuff that the Germans put out. Germans always put out good entertainment.
Yeah, well, Nosferatu is very good. I think Jess liked the black and white one better than the remake, but So anyway, from that point on, basically hilarity ensues. The vampire travels to Europe and goes back and forth, and then in the end, basically when the vampire gets there, the ship crashes, like gets into the German town. The ship crashes. A bunch of rats come out and cause the plague. And this was the big difference, really, between the German version and Dracula, is there's no mention of the plague or whatever in Dracula. It's just... But in Nosferatu, it's just the vampire kills people in Dracula. But in Nosferatu, the ship that actually reaches the shore is a plague ship. And so you've got all these rats running around town, and they start killing people en masse. In the black and white version, it's actually the vampire killing everybody, but they're blaming the plague. In this version, the plague is like kind of tied to the vampire curse. And so...
It makes sense.
Yeah, so the girl in the end, like, sacrifices herself essentially to, bait the vampire, keep the vampire out of his coffin until sunup so he'll die. And, that's pretty much it. It's not super complicated, but it wasn't a callback to the Victorian Gothic novel that I was kind of hoping it would be. So it was.
You were hoping for a, man, I can't remember the name of that movie. What's the guy that plays Wolverine?
Hugh Jackman.
The vampire movie that he did.
Van Helsing, yes.
Van Helsing,
That is a good one. That's a good
great
one.
Ooh,
People hate that one,
Van
but I love
Helsing.
that movie.
Dude, my whole family loves it.
Wait, why do people hate that movie?
Because, I don't know,
Not me.
they hate good guys and bad guys and think they're lame or something. And they did kind of knock off Solomon Kane a little bit in that Van Helsing movie, but that's all right.
Oh yeah.
So, but anyway, no, the thing that really, for me, ruined it was, number one, the CGI. The CGI was just awful, and I really wish they'd quit using it. And I was hopeful that they wouldn't go that way with it, because Bill Skarsgård is the guy who played Pennywise in the It movies. And they didn't go super heavy with the CGI on that. Like, it was their practical effects kind of mixed with CGI with that guy. But it was just pure CGI here. And with him doing that Mongolian voice, I thought he'd be doing more things with his body and doing more character acting stuff. They didn't go that way with it. So it's like everything was great until the vampire showed up, you know, and then it was just like, why are we watching this? You know? It's just more like I could just watch a cartoon and it'd be the same thing, which was really disappointing. But yeah, when you don't see the vampire, he's great. The other thing that really bothered me is like the overemphasis on like sexuality. Like I'm not somebody who thinks like nudity in movies and stuff is like bad or unchristian or whatever. Like I disagree with a lot of traditional Christian people on that point. But the thing is about those Victorian novels when they do get all like sexually suggestive and stuff is it only works because back in the 1800s there was like this fad like hypnotism and mysticism and stuff. And
it's still a fad.
I'm sorry?
It's still a fad.
It's still a fad, yeah. But back then, that's when that kind of, I guess you could say that's kind of when it was getting popular for the first time. And the idea behind it was people kind of have an inner bestial desire that gets let out once their inhibitions are like destroyed or whatever, which is kind of the point of like behind seduction and temptation. Like when and the vampire is ultimately a succubus. It's a tempting creature. It like lowers people's inhibitions and stuff. But that only works because the characters at the beginning of the stories are good people. You know what I mean? So at the start of Dracula, actually Dracula, they're pretty well good all throughout. But at the start of most of these stories, the characters are like good, and then like the devil kind of baits them, you know what I mean, throughout the entire course of the story, and then they gradually either fall or overcome the hero, or overcome the villain, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not what they do with this stuff anymore. What they do is they make everybody like rowdy high schoolers throughout the whole thing, and it loses the effect. You know,
they don't want you to know how demonology works.
They don't want you to know how demonology works.
Yeah, they don't want to know how you get possessed. They don't want you to know how that happens.
Yeah, I do think there's a truth to that. Like there's no emphasis on like explaining temptation at all.
Dude, have you seen Nefarious? Oh man, it's so good. So it's about this demon possessed guy, and he ends up killing his shrink, or he makes his shrink kill himself. They twist his mind around.
Oh, does he?
And
nice.
Yeah, he's on death row, and he's killed like 40 people or something, and it was based off a true story. But there's a new shrink that comes in, and the whole movie is a conversation between the shrink and this demon possessed guy. And dude, he explains that so well. Like it's one of the best movies I've ever seen.
I'll have to watch it. I think I've seen clips of it on YouTube, but I don't think I've seen it all the way through.
We should definitely do an episode on that one.
Okay.
Dude, it's so good.
Do a review of that next time, maybe. Yeah,
okay.
That'd be good. No, but it ruins the idea that they just cannot have people be good people from the start.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they just cannot do it. And it sucks because, one of the best scenes in Dracula is when Mina Harker is forced to do like the vampire baptism thing. So basically Dracula comes in and makes...
Who's Mina again?
Mina Harker. This is not Nosferatu. Mina Harker's the female heroine in the book Dracula. I'm just using Mina Harker as a point of comparison with this movie. So in Dracula... Mina Harker is forced to drink Dracula's blood, which makes her like unclean and stuff.
Right. Okay.
And it's a really kind of gut-wrenching scene in the book because, like she's crying and the three guys that were like basically her friends are sad and they're sad. Like they're, how do I put this? I'm doing a crappy job explaining this. So
you're good, dude.
In the beginning of the book Dracula, there's this girl, Lucy, who dies, who's killed by the vampire. And these three guys at the first half of the book, they were basically trying to court her, date her. One of them wins, but then she dies. And so they all, lost their, girlfriend, basically. And so when Mina Harker and Jonathan have their half of it, those three guys become very pivotal to the story because since they lost their love, they don't want Jonathan to go through the same thing, and so they become very invested in Mina's fate. But it's like they're trying to save Lucy again by saving Mina Harker. You know what I mean?
And they're all three crazy. That's insane.
Why is that insane? I think it's awesome.
3 dudes going after the same chick?
They didn't know
It
that.
happens
You're talking
all
about
the
Lucy.
time.
They didn't know that. They were all
I've
interested
never
in.
seen it, so
Okay, all right. So basically, Lucy has 3 different guys that ask her to marry her at the same time. They don't know about each other. You know what I mean? At the beginning. Like, they don't know that the other's asking her out or whatever. They're just all, like, interested in her and meet her at different times, and it's kind of serendipitous, you might say, or providential. And so when she gets sick, that brings those 3 guys who haven't met before together, and they all form an alliance to try to save her, and then they fail. And so these 3 guys who tried to save the girl lose the girl, and then later on, because they meet a character, Van Helsing, who's also trying to help Mina Harker, those 3 guys are connected to Van Helsing. They meet Mina through Van Helsing. And so they try to save Mina again. Could they try to save Mina because it's like trying to save Lucy again? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
yeah.
And so there's like my point is these guys are very empathetic. Like they don't personally get anything out of saving Mina Harker, but they try, you know, because they don't want this guy Jonathan to go through the same pain that they went through, you know, and they're trying to save the girl because it's kind of like saving Lucy. So it's just the point is the characters are selfless. You know what I mean? Like they're invested in people that they don't get any personal benefit out of, you know, because they're good guys. Like they're just classical good guys. You know, that's not what's going on here. Like what's going on here is just like weird sex, pagan ritual stuff, essentially.
Yeah.
Because the thing is in the old one, the original Nosferatu, you know, the girl, she's innocent. Like that's the point. She's like Mina in the sense that she's innocent. She hasn't done anything wrong. She didn't invite a succubus into her room or whatever. This isn't like a situation where everybody's pervy and the vampire's just kind of adding on to the perviness. The situation is like she is innocent, but she starts researching, in the original, she starts researching how to fight the vampire. And then, and this is the old one, mind you, the old Nosferatu. The innocent girl figures out on her own how to kill the vampire. And the book that she's reading says to sacrifice herself. And so she makes the decision on her own to kill the vampire by sacrificing herself. But in this one, it's like the guys, William Dafoe and who's the doctor? Yeah, Ralph Ineson, William Sievers. They kind of all form this plan, and the girl gets into agreement with it. And it's almost like sacrificing the woman in the volcano. You know what I mean? So they trick Thomas Hutter, Nicholas Hoult, into going after the coffin, so the girl can bait the vampire herself and then sacrifice herself or whatever. Like the nobility in the original Nosferatu, where the girl just kind of does it all in private and chooses to die because it's self-sacrifice or whatever, that's kind of lost in this kind of like Machiavellian plan. And it's more reminiscent of sacrificing the virgin in the volcano to stop the plague. Like it's that kind of pagan. Like even William Dafoe at one point in the movie says, if this was another time, you would have been a pagan priestess or whatever. You know, he literally says this. And it was just weird. Like they took all the noble stuff from the Victorian era and just turned it into paganism.
It's all New Age stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
So it was like the charm of the... Like it was white hat, black hat in the sense that the vampire was ugly. But the things that make characters really, truly good and really, truly bad weren't there. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't really Victorian like everybody's been saying. So.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a traditional movie. It was... Let's see what we can do with... I don't know.
They just cannot abide Christian traits like, you know, self-sacrifice, mercy, grace, the devil, God. Like, they just can't do it. Bram Stoker's Dracula in 91, which I despise, or not 91, early 90s. I despise it. It has Anthony Hopkins in it, but I despise it. It does the same thing. Instead of going with like a primarily Christian motif, it's like got Hinduism and reincarnation, and Mina and Dracula were in love the whole time. And that's kind of what they were also doing at this Ellen Hutter thing. Like, Ellen and Nosferatu were in love the whole time, and it was like this long-standing thing. It's like the husband was the other man looking through the window instead of the vampire being the monster looking through the window. You know what I mean? Like, in both movies, they make the husband the third wheel. Like, it sucks. You know?
They've been pushing that for a long time. Like, dads being stupid and, all that shit.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's emasculating the male hero.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
But see, that's the thing, is Jonathan in Dracula, I guess you could say in a certain respect, is emasculated, but it's more like he just gets there too late, and the vampire's already attacking his girlfriend by the time he gets back from the castle, because he's like kept prisoner for a while, and it's a whole thing. Yeah. But those three guys are kind of the ones acting as the heroes at that point. But they're still like masculine, you know what I mean? Like, they're just trying to protect the girl because it's right to protect people, you know? They're not getting anything out of it. But there's no, like, in Dracula, Dracula is a monster.
Yeah.
But in the movie, it's like Mina Harker's like his reincarnated lover. It's the weirdest thing. And so in the end, it's like Mina has to go kiss Dracula for the last time or some goofy thing before Dracula will die. It's just this dumb, sacrificing the virgin thing.
Huh.
It
all seems like flipped on its head.
Yeah, it is. It's like deliberate inversion.
Yeah.
Of what those Victorian novels were supposed to be.
They just try to confuse people, man.
Yeah.
Hollywood's gone so downhill.
They're evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, they're evil.
Well, they've gone beyond evil.
That is one thing.
It's like everybody's got their fingers in there, and they so everybody that's funding the movie gets like a say, and they're like, "Oh, I want my agenda in there." And then like you get like this hodgepodge by the end of it because everybody wants their agenda in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's all stupid.
Too many chefs in the kitchen, as it were.
Yeah,
I kind of think it has something to do. It's tied, and this is my conspiracy theory for the day, but it's like tied to Project Mockingbird. I think like the CIA has went in there, and I think they've decided that you've got to turn the culture pagan and hedonistic because that's how you make a populace retarded.
Yeah.
You know, that's
self-service makes you an idiot.
Yeah, well, listening to impulses keeps you from being introspective. You're just reactive at that point.
Yes.
And so when they crash the dollar and, we're all running around naked in a pickle barrel or whatever, they can point at some random minority and go, they did it. And then because we're so impulsive, we'll go after them. Yeah.
That's the, what's the Armenian genocide.
Is that the story behind that? I'm not super familiar with the Armenian genocide.
The Turks basically listened to the government and it was like a color revolution or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they listened to the government, and the government said, all the Armenians are bad. Drag them out of their houses and murder them. That was right before the Holocaust.
Oh.
Yeah.
You don't hear about that one.
No.
I know Cenk Uygur denies it. That's, him being
Who's
from...
Cenk Uygur?
Cenk, the Young Turks.
Oh, of course he does.
Yeah, exactly. Young Turks. Yeah. So.
Yeah. It's a bit on the nose.
Just a little. Just a smidge. Nah. That's something we do need to do an episode on. I haven't done my reading on it yet, but I would like to get into like the occult and satanic and all the weird stuff going on there because, 5-6 years ago is another one of those things I would have considered not nuts, but been really skeptical on. And now it's like just accepted.
Like esoteric stuff?
Yeah, like general? Esoteric Hollywood stuff, yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. No, I mean, like, dude, you can... Harry Potter's got tons of esoterics in it.
Yeah, I don't... Ironically, I don't think Harry Potter's the worst culprit. I really don't.
No, I think it's a great movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not mad at Harry Potter at all. Well, I like what all they do.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of it, but I don't think she's a Wiccan like they were saying or whatever. I think she just did her research and didn't really.
She just did her research.
Wrote it? Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah, you can see like the symbol for the resurrection stone or whatever is literally the ancient symbol for the philosopher's stone. I mean,
oh, I didn't know that.
yeah,
Yeah, she actually like did like there's actually a whole bunch of ancient stuff in her movies and books.
Yeah, she
tons
was
of
on the
good
internet
ideas.
looking for good ideas. I think I think she could have got all that stuff. But anyway, no. The point is, there's a lot of deliberate stuff in there, and I think Married with Children and some of this crap that's come out in the last 40 years has had more to do with the downfall of society than anything else, like the dumb dad routine. And I think there is a lot of pagan themes that pop up, like this. I mean, William Dafoe literally says she's a pagan. She would have been a pagan princess 100 years ago. They're sacrificing the priest to the volcano. I mean, they couldn't have been more on the nose. And you're supposed to celebrate it like it's some noble thing. It's like, how about you just go kill the vampire? It's like, no, we have to do this. It's the only way. What about the steak and the garlic? Shut up. We have to sacrifice the woman.
Yep.
Stake him in the heart and be done with it.
I hate that they do movies like that now.
Yeah, it's just like
Like I
there's
said,
no.
Van Helsing's like classic. Like
I
it's
know.
perfect. It's perfect.
I know. I love
No,
that.
It's because they filmed everything too. Like they do all this AI and CGI, like you were saying, and it takes all the reality of it, and you can't identify with it, so it doesn't make you feel anything.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's like, fuck this.
Well, it works whenever they interchange it. You know what I mean? Like when they put some things that are CGI mixed into practical effects. That's what they did in Lord of the Rings. That's why that works. But now it's just like all
when you
cartoon.
overdo it, man. It's like you can tell that they're doing all AI just so, or CGI or whatever you want to call it. They're doing all the computer stuff, so it's cheaper.
Yeah, exactly. And it feels cheaper. And it's like, why is nobody coming to our movies? I don't understand.
Yep.
I mean, I
Now
used to
that-
think that the
yeah.
puppetry stuff and the practical effects looked lame when I was a kid. Now as an
At
adult,
least they were trying.
yeah, exactly. It's like now as an adult, after watching this computer crap, I'm like, that actually looks better. I guess Jim Henson was all right.
Yeah. Like who's the guy that did Batman? Who was that? That director?
Tim Burton. Which
Yeah,
which
most of his
Batman? Because the one of
Wait, Tim Burton.
Tim Burton did the first one of Michael Keaton.
Oh no, I'm talking about the good Batman. Christian Bale.
Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, Christopher Nolan. All his movies are like great, man. Like he's got like guidelines, and he won't cuck to AI and all that kind of stuff. Like he makes good movies. He does a lot of esoteric stuff too. It's just hard to see.
Yeah, well, that in Interstellar, it's a little on the nose, but
I haven't seen that one.
oh, you haven't seen Interstellar? You'd love it. It's like all
It's about
sorts of
space?
it's about space, but you're talking about
I'll love it.
esoteric stuff. I think you'd be into it. So,
Okay.
I watched Oppenheimer. I was not a fan of Oppenheimer. That was
Yeah.
not great, but
Yeah.
and I haven't seen Tenet, but I haven't heard good things about Tenet. But I do hear that
Christopher Nolan did Oppenheimer.
he did. Yes.
I might have to take back my my statement. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, no, he's a great director most of the time.
I mean, he was apparently.
No, he's kind of been hit or miss ever since. I think Interstellar was the last one I saw that was arguably really, really good.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch it.
Who's the main actor in it again? What's his name?
In which one?
Interstellar.
Matthew McConaughey.
McConaughey.
Oh.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, it's pretty good. Yeah, no, we need to do an esoteric Hollywood thing, and
Yeah,
then
I'm
actually
down.
like talk about it, huh?
I'm down.
Yeah, that's good.
Sweet. All right. Well, I think that is gonna wrap it up for the first 30 minutes here. I think I've said all I need to say about Nosferatu. If you've got time to waste, it's worth it. If you're on a schedule, don't go see this movie. It ain't that good, but it's okay. It's middle of the road. So, okay, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next
Thank you.
one. Peace out.
See ya.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Faith, Fiction, and Folklore. If you did, we would love it if you would subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Rumble. We can also be found on X, Instagram, and Facebook. And we are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Thank you again very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.